Welcome to the online version of U.S. History since 1877. I am your instructor, Dr. Kodam Thara. In fact, let's move along, and that's me on the screen. And I wanted to introduce myself first, so that way you can get to know me a little bit better since you and I won't see each other face to face. This is a phonetic pronunciation of my last name, in case you want to talk trash about me to your friends. That's how you pronounce my last name a little bit easier, if that helps. If you are on campus or you're in Weatherford and you would like to visit or ask me some questions in person, you can find me in the Science Building on campus, which is the building that's pictured there on your screen. The Science Building is actually right across the way from the administration building and kind of in front of the Stafford building. So there are the three buildings right there. I'm also across the street from the Student Union. The building is across the street from the Student Union. So it's probably one of the most recognizable buildings on campus. My office is actually in the basement of that building. So if you go downstairs to the very bottom floor, I'm on the far west side of the building. There's an office suite, and once you go inside the office suite of 101, you'll find me in the back corner. My office hours are typically Monday, Wednesday all day. And then Tuesday, Thursday, it's a little bit tight because I have in-person classes for most of the day. So you can find me for about an hour and a half in the middle of the day. So Mondays and Wednesdays are the best times to find me because I'm there all day working on different stuff. And I'm usually, if I'm out of the office, I'm only out of the office for a few minutes at a time. So you can walk in whenever you like. If you are coming from out of town and you just happen to be in Weatherford, it might be easier if you schedule an appointment with me so I can make sure that I am there when you show up and I'm not wandering around aimlessly. On Fridays, I'm usually working from home or I'm taking other meetings. So if you need to meet on Fridays, I can come in. That's not a problem. Just let me know in advance so I can make sure I don't schedule anything else. And I'm also willing to meet by Zoom if you want to do that. Any other ways that you want to contact me, the easiest way to do it, and in fact, probably the most efficient way is by messaging me. You can message me through Canvas, which is where our class is hosted, obviously, or you can email me directly. That's my full email address, my first name dot last name at swasu.edu. You can also call me if you prefer to do that. That phone number that you see is directly to my office. So you don't have to talk to anyone else. That is at my office. So even if I'm not at my office, I can check my voicemail from anywhere. So call me and leave me a voicemail if I don't answer, and then I can call you back as soon as I can. But again, I think the best way to get in touch with me is by either messaging me on Canvas or email. We'll talk more about that in a couple of minutes. I'm also willing to meet with you via Zoom, especially those of you who are out of town or out of state. If you would like to ask me questions and you learn better by talking face to face, and I know that there are several of you who do, I am totally cool with that. Just let me know and we can set up a Zoom appointment. I can set that up with you and I'll be sure to confirm that with you and get that taken care of. I want to emphasize this, especially with my online students, and that is there is a tendency among online students to shy away from asking questions, especially about the material. There is a tendency to try to take on material on their own because you think, well, I made the choice to learn on my own, so I need to just deal with it on my own. Listen, my job as your professor is to help you succeed. And so if there is something in the material that is tripping you up, if you don't know how to succeed in taking your exams, if you don't know how to take notes well, if you don't know how to do the assignment correctly, please don't hesitate to ask. That's my job. My job is to help you get better, to do better, and to do well. And that's especially important in this class because this class is a requirement, and I don't want you to have to take this class 2, 3, 4, 10 times, right? I want you to take this class, succeed, do the best that you can, and take the skill set that you gain from this class and use it to succeed in other classes. Okay. So, on that note, I want to talk about how you can succeed in this course. Because it's an online course, for those of you who have taken online courses, this should be old news for you. But for those of you who are brand new to it, this is going to be important. You have to check Canvas and your email once a day. That's at bare minimum. I would suggest and advise at least twice a day. And that's not just for my class, that's for every online class. And the reason why I suggest that is because you never know when announcements are posted. Canvas does send you emails to let you know when announcements are posted, but if you don't check your email regularly, then that's a waste. That's a wasted email, right? So it's important that you check your email and by email, I mean either your SWOSU email or wherever you send your SWOSU email to, but whatever whatever you are using to access your SWOSU accounts, please, please, please check them daily, because you want to make sure that you are keeping up with the homework, you're keeping up with your lecture material, your exams, you are on schedule. And that's, again, not just for this class, but for any class that you are taking, even the in-person classes, you want to be sure that you are on top of it. And that you're not doing things just in the nick of time, right? That you are getting things done in a timely manner, because it's better to get things done early than it is, 5 minutes before they're due, because you don't want to be rushed into submitting your assignments. You want to be able to give yourself enough of a cushion that you're going to get the best grade possible. So the way I've set up this course, I've divided up the course into 4 units. Each unit is made up of a separate topic. There is a lecture for each topic. So for example, in Unit 1, it's Reconstruction, the Gilded Age, and the Limits of Freedom. Those are the 3 topics. Each topic has a lecture. Each topic has a mini quiz. There are a couple of assignments for the unit. And then there is a unit exam, okay? I have set aside a month to get all of that material completed. Now that sounds like a lot of time, but the reality is it is not a lot of time, because the lectures are on average an hour and a half long. And most, if not all of you, do not want to sit for an hour and a half for a lecture. And that's okay. That's totally fine. The great thing about an online course is that you can pause a lecture, walk away, do other stuff, and then come back and pick up where you left off, right? You can pause and rewind, take notes at your own pace. That's the amazing thing about lectures. If you're taking it in person, it's much more fast paced. Here, if you want to start on Monday and then finish the lecture on Thursday, you can do that. But it requires you to be accountable. It requires you to do this regularly, at least get through one topic on a weekly basis. Now, when we talk about each of these units, for the most part, 3 of the units have 3 topics, 1 of the units has 4 topics. So getting through them on a monthly basis is manageable, but that's only if you get through the coursework and the due dates on a weekly basis. So if you listen to one lecture, get through that topic's assignments and the assignment and mini quiz for that week, then you're good. If you can do that week by week, then you can easily stick to that commitment. And listen, some of you might even be able to work ahead and get done with all of the work well in advance. All of the assignments are opened from the beginning of the semester. So if you want to work ahead of schedule, you absolutely can. It's working at your own pace. However, each unit is only open for a month. That's the key. I'll explain that more in a little bit. Now, if you are running into trouble, as I said a little bit earlier, if you have questions about the material, if you feel like you're overwhelmed or you don't know how to take notes well, you don't know how to prepare yourself for the exams or answer questions correctly, please, please, please reach out to me. Talk to me about that and let's work on it together. The easiest way and probably the most effective way to contact me is through email, but this is my commitment to you. I prefer email or Canvas, and I will check my email and Canvas messages usually until 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. Every once in a while, I'll check it on the weekends, but Monday through Friday up until 8 p.m. One of the things that I want to make sure you understand is I teach on average about 150 students every semester. So give me about 24 to 48 hours to respond. However, it's easy for a message to get lost in that. And so if I take longer than 48 hours to respond, please email me again and say, hey, Dr. Kodam Thara, not sure if you got my previous message, but here's what's going on. Can you please help me? Whatever. That's important because if I don't respond to you, it's because I either forgot or I just didn't see it. So allow 24 to 48 hours and I should respond within that time frame. But if I don't, it's because I just completely forgot. So make sure to get my attention. Now, that said, please adhere to a professional approach in your emails. Have a greeting. So, dear Dr. Kodam Thara, and then tell me what your issue is and have a closing. Remember, you and I don't really know each other. And how we know each other is in a professional capacity, right? And a part of your college experience is to train you for a professional career. So now is as great a time as any to prepare you for the job market. And so I want you to get into the habit of being able to address your professors and your mentors in a professional capacity. So make sure that in your emails, you have a proper greeting, a proper email, and then a closing. So that way you start getting into that habit. Okay. Let's talk about what is in the course overall, so that way you know what to expect. So the course is technically called American History since 1877, but historians agree that if you want to understand American history since 1877, you have to go back to 1865, which is the time period right after the Civil War. So listen, you're getting 12 extra years of history for free, okay? We're not charging you tuition or fees for any of that. So there you go. You're welcome. Now, the additional thing that you're going to get in this class through your assignments, but also through the lectures, is you're going to get an understanding of how historians study history, how we come to the conclusions that we come to, and it's by using primary sources. So just so you know what primary sources are literally any object from the time period that we're studying. So let's say we are studying the 1920s. That could be a radio, a movie, a newspaper article, a diary entry, a flapper's dress, a trumpet from the jazz era, somebody's suit, right? So it's literally anything, any object from that time period, because those things can tell us about the life, the culture, the politics of that era, right? That's that's how we understand the lives and the stories of the people who lived during that time period. If somebody 100 years from now were to study the people of Oklahoma or the people of the United States in 2024, they would probably use social media. They would use our fashion. They would use our music. They would use our films. They would use our newspapers. All of those things are valid primary sources, because they are an indication of how we lived, what we thought, what we argued about, what were the primary topics of our time, all of those things, right? So primary sources help give us a window into the lives of the people that we're studying. And throughout each lecture, you are going to see different primary sources. You're going to hear different primary sources. And your assignments in class, some of your homework assignments are going to be primary sources. And we'll talk about that a bit more later on. But just so you know, in the lectures, I'll actually explain some of these primary sources. I'll show you what we look for, what stands out. And I want you to pay attention to that, because those are the kinds of details, those are the kinds of questions, those are the kinds of that's the kind of analysis that I'd like for you to use when you look at primary sources on your own. This course is also going to help you develop your critical thinking, reading, and writing skills. So a lot of people have a tendency to ask, what's the purpose of taking American history? Well, besides the value of learning our history, history teaches you how to think, read, and write critically. By that, what I mean is it's not just a matter of memorization, right? I am not interested in making sure that you knew that Abraham Lincoln died in 1865. I mean, if you know that, great. But I am more interested in whether or not you can explain why he was assassinated and what kind of impact his assassination had on Reconstruction, how it shaped Republicans to come, and that sort of thing. Tell me why it matters. Tell me how it changes politics, how it changes society. Those are the kinds of things that matter. The reason why those kinds of skills are important is because as you go into your other classes, especially into your majors, those are the skills that you're going to need as you write your research papers, as you get into your larger projects. When you go into your career, whether you're going into nursing or business or pharmacy, asking critical questions, asking your patients critical questions of, how long ago did this start? When did you see symptoms? Or if you're creating a business or you are advising a business, getting those larger questions, knowing what questions to ask and what to do with their answers, the foundation of that skill set starts here. So I'd like for you to really dig in and work hard on developing that skill set. Now, there is a crap ton of information in this class, okay? We are going to cover 1865 all the way up to 2004, guys. So that's a lot of time. It's a lot of events. It's a lot of people. And when you think about it, all of these things are happening simultaneously. And one thing influences another thing, influences another thing, influences another thing. And what you're going to hear in these lectures is you're going to hear about a lot of overlap. You're going to hear a lot about how, one event is going to impact decades worth of global events. It's going to be important that you understand that your brain is going to need some time to absorb all of this information. So it goes back to the point that I made in the previous slide, and that is you cannot wait until the last minute to do all this work. If Unit 1 is due on February 1st, you cannot wait until January 31st to get everything done. It's impossible. And it's not fair to your brain. You're not going to do well. You will not succeed. Okay. So please give yourself the time and the brain space to absorb the information. So let's talk about the work that you can expect in this class. So you'll see that there are 4 different assignments, 4 different things that you'll be graded on over the course of this semester. First, there are the lecture mini quizzes. I've organized these in terms of their weight as far as how much I count them towards your final grade. So lecture mini quizzes are worth 10% of your final grade. After each lecture, you're required to complete a mini quiz based on the lecture. Okay, so based on what I've talked about in lecture, you're expected to complete a mini quiz. It is open note. I'm going to, let me make sure that you believe me when it is open note. Okay. Now, here's the other thing that I want you to remember about this quiz. There is no time limit. So you can take as much time as you need, but you have to score a perfect score before you can move on into the next item, right? This is the key. You've got to make a perfect score, because otherwise you can't move on to whatever's next. If that's an assignment, that's an assignment. If that's the next lecture, then it's the next lecture. But until you get a perfect score, if it's a 7 out of 7, a 10 out of 10, whatever it is, you have to get a perfect score first. The next assignment that I want to talk about are video reflections. There are 4 video reflections, 1 in each unit. Essentially, this is a video clip. Most of them are from different shows. I think a few of them are from CBS Sunday Morning. I think one of them is from PBS, but you'll watch just a short clip. Most of them are about 5 to 8 minutes long, not very long at all. You'll read the directions, so if it says to answer the following questions in a paragraph, you'll just write 1 paragraph and answer both of those questions in that paragraph. But make sure that you answer those questions, okay? The primary source exercises are essentially about primary sources, right? There are 4, 1 in each unit. You will have 4 different types of primary sources. You'll have a political cartoon. I think one is a radio address. Another one is a speech. Another one is an actual, I think, a film clip. But for each of them, you're going to pay attention to the details, and then you'll answer the corresponding questions accordingly. That's worth 30% of your grade. Now, what's worth 40% of your grade will be the unit exams. There are 4 unit exams. Each of them are 60 points each. And what that means is there are 6 short answer questions. Okay. The short answer questions are very different from the mini quizzes, in that the mini quizzes are multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank. Okay. The unit exams are all short answer. So you are going to be required to write for these exams, okay? These 2 are, let me move this out of the way so you could see it. This is also open note, all right? But here's where the burden is on you, okay? First of all, this requires you to be able to take good notes over lecture. If you're listening to lecture as you're taking the exam, I can tell you right now, you're going to fail. Because you only have, as I point out here, this should actually say 75 minutes. Here, let me clear that up. So this should say, 70, I'm sorry for my poor handwriting. That should say 75 minutes, okay? 75 minutes to complete. Right? 75 minutes is not enough time to watch the lectures as you write your short answer questions. It's not going to work. So when we talk about OpenNote, you have got to have really good notes with you. Now, for those of you who don't know how to take notes, if you've never learned how to take notes, under announcements, I have posted a YouTube link of how to take notes, because there are different styles that of note taking. And for some people, an outline format works best. For some people, it's different styles. I had to try different ways to figure out what works best for me. You're going to have to do the same thing. It might take a little bit of time for you, but do what works naturally for you. They're going to be your notes, right? So you want to do what's best for you, but use your notes wisely, because the other thing that you want to keep in mind is just because these are open notes does not mean that you have time to search through your notes to get to all the answers. You want to be familiar with the material in advance of the exam, so that way you don't spend all of your time searching through your notes for the exam, for the answers. Okay? So be prepared in advance, know the material, be comfortable with the material. So that way the notes are just essentially a backup plan, right? The notes are a safety net for you. That's the whole goal. You want the notes to be a safety net, not a crutch. I hope that is a better explanation. I don't want you to completely depend on your notes. I want the notes to be there just in case you need them. The short answer questions. Let me explain what I mean by this. The 6 short answer questions, there will be 2 to 3 questions depending on the unit for each of the lectures that we cover. Sometimes there'll only be 1 question, depending on the unit. But these are typically going to include how or why questions. So in other words, you're going to have to explain why things happened the way they did, how things happened the way they did. So again, it's going to require you to pay attention to the lectures. The other thing that I want you to know is that you are required to write in complete sentences. You are required to be as grammatically correct as possible, because yes, that counts. Again, the goal here is not just to test you on history. The goal here is to help prepare you for the professional world. So I want to make sure that you are ready to write as professionals. And so this is how we're training you to do it. Because at some point, because being a professional really sucks, you're going to have to write reports of some kind. You're going to have to fill in all sorts of forms of some kind. Is it fun? No. Is it expected? Yes. And so this is how we get you prepared for those kinds of things. Okay. So again, ignore the 70 minutes. It's supposed to say 75 minutes. I apologize. Okay. On that note, let me also add this. If you have accommodations and your accommodations require extra time, please make sure that your information has been submitted to the Dean of Students, because then the Dean of Students will contact me. If you contact me directly, that's not going to work. That information has to come from the Dean of Students. Once that's submitted to me, I will set that up and make sure that you are good to go. Okay. What the class will be like. This is just explaining how the course is broken down. So if you go to modules, which you've already done, if you look at how the modules are broken up, as I said earlier, it's broken down into 4 units, and each unit is organized into the separate modules, right? So each module includes the following. There is a unit intro. The intro explains what's going to be in that unit. So for unit 1, it explains, okay, this is the time period of Reconstruction leading into the Gilded Age. Here's what's going on. Here's what people are facing, the challenges they're facing, and here's what you're expected to do in this unit. And then you'll go from that into the first lecture. After the first lecture, there's a first mini quiz and possibly an assignment. There's not always an assignment, but you can you can try to expect one. Then from there, there is the next lecture, and then the next mini quiz and the next assignment. Okay. It's not always going to be an assignment, but I just want to get you into that rhythm. There are at least 3 topics in each unit, and at the end of each unit, there is your exam, the unit exam. Okay. You have 1 month to complete each unit. So unit 1 is due February 1st. Unit 2 is due March 1st. Unit 3 is due April 1st. Unit 4 is a little bit wonky because technically I would have had it due for May 1st, except May 1st is during dead days and we're not allowed to create deadlines for dead days. So it's April 28th, I believe, or April 29th. So it's a couple of days early, but that's the only exception, and it's only by a couple of days. So you have a month to complete them. Now, if you want to work ahead, so let's say you get Unit 1 due before February 1st, you can go ahead and start Unit 2. So if you get Unit 1 due by January 20th, done by January 20th, start on Unit 2. Then you can get Unit 2 done by, February 22nd, start on Unit 3. You can get the class done early if you want. It's entirely up to you. But what you cannot do is be late, because once a unit closes, it's closed. I will not reopen any assignment. I will not reopen any mini quiz. I will not reopen any unit. Once the unit is closed, it is closed. That's the policy. Okay? I want to emphasize that. Once it is closed, it is closed. So please make sure that you keep that in mind. Also, you have to complete the module in its order. You cannot skip around. So you cannot, skip over the unit intro and then go straight to the assignment. You have to watch the lecture. Then you take the mini quiz. Then you do the assignment, and then after you've done all the lectures, all the quizzes, all the assignments, then you can do the unit exam. You have to complete them in order. Otherwise, you will not be able to go forward. This is asked of me often, so I just want to get this out of the way. I do not offer extra credit. I don't offer extra credit because there is already so much work that exists in this class. Let me just be clear here. If you do all of the assignments, if you complete them, you will easily pass the class. A passing grade is a D. So if you do all of the assignments, the minimum you'll get is a D. Just do the assignments. Now, if you actually make an effort, then you can do way better than a D. Okay? If you actually make an effort, if you're disciplined enough to try, you will do better than a D, and you might actually learn things. Okay? Now, for those people amongst us, I can't name names, but they're always there. So for those people amongst us who want to just press play on the lectures and skip right over it, for those amongst us who don't want to do the assignments and want to cheat their way through it, and for those amongst us who want to right click on a question and search Google or use AI to complete those assignments. Here's my policy on both. Absolutely not. Plagiarism is unacceptable. You can check the SWOSU Student Code of Conduct for the university's official position on that. But plagiarism is you taking credit for somebody else's work, even work that you've done before. That's plagiarizing yourself. Plagiarism is not okay. Even if it's another student in the class who is giving you their answers, that's plagiarism. And so that student and you, both of you, will be punished. Here's the thing. I don't mind you guys helping each other if you know each other in the class. That's something that actually works to your benefit. But it's another thing when the 2 of you or the 3 of you or the 10 of you submit the exact same answer, because then nobody's learning. or 9 of you aren't learning, but 1 of you is, then you're not actually getting anything out of the class. Okay. The other thing is about AI. AI is something that a lot of academics are debating about. There are some who are totally okay with it, some who are on the fence about it. I hate it. Let me explain why I think AI is destructive, okay, and why AI is problematic. In this class, as I said at the very beginning, this class, we are trying to teach you, trying to learn how to think, read, write critically. You can't do that if you're using something else to think for you, to write for you, to read and understand and explain for you. And when you use AI, what you are essentially saying about yourself is that you are incapable of doing the work. And I refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe that. You can do the work. The question is whether or not you are willing to do the work, whether or not you believe in yourself and your ability to do the work. I know you can, but you have to know that you can. Okay? AI is essentially the easy way out. It's the cheater's way out. You're copping out of doing real work. And you're saying, I need something else to think for me. I need something else to read for me. And here's what ends up happening when you become so dependent on AI. This is how people, companies, governments rip you off. They're going to include in contracts that you sign, whether it's a leasing contract, a contract to buy your car, a contract to buy your house, a legislative bill, whatever, they include all sorts of material that they know you are not going to read because you don't read and you don't want to read. We need to break ourselves of that habit. And we need to make sure that we read, and we need to make sure that we value ourselves enough to know that not only can we do the work, that we must do the work to protect ourselves. Okay? Let's talk about what happens if you do use plagiarism, if you plagiarize or you do use AI. Okay? The first violation of plagiarism or AI will result in a 0 for the assignment. And in addition to that, I contact the chair of our department so that they are aware of what's going on. And there's a little bit, there's just documentation of what's happening, and somebody else is aware of it, somebody higher up. The second time around, however, it will result in an F for the course, but it will also result in a message not only to the chair of my department, but also a message to the dean of students. I believe that also requires filing official paperwork with the dean's office so that it's on your record. Okay? All this to say, don't do it. Have some respect for yourself and your abilities. You know you can do the work, so just do the work. Do the work. If you are having any kind of trouble with anything in this class, for example, if you're having technical issues with Canvas, contact CEDL. If you are having issues in life in general, you come across an emergency situation because life is lifing and sometimes life really sucks, contact the dean's office, the dean of students office. On their website, they have different options that you can select to fill out a form, and the dean of students office is actually a great advocate for students, so please use them to your advantage. And of course, you're having trouble with the material, you want to really succeed, but you don't know how, you need help taking notes, whatever, then I'm the one you talk to. I'm the one that will help you out in this class. Now, all of the contact information for all of these people, including myself, you can find on the course syllabus, which will be available to you all semester. And just an easy way to access it is clicking on syllabus on the left-hand side of the page. But of course, at some point you'll be taking your course syllabus quiz. So you'll have to look through that anyway and become familiar with the syllabus. There are plenty of things that you'll have to look at through this introductory module. But here's what I want to say finally for this class. There are a few dates that I want you to remember. You have until March 28th to withdraw from the class without permission. But if you decide to withdraw, please talk to me first, because if you're withdrawing because you don't like your grade in the class, there are things that I might know about your grade that you don't. So don't drop out of despair. Okay, let's have a conversation first, and then let's see if dropping is really the only option for you. Because if it's not, then we can figure something out. Now, you have until April 23rd to drop with my permission. That means that I would be the one to give you the W. You just have to let me know that that's what you want to do. Your final exam is due by May 6th. Again, if you want to complete it before then, because it's a part of Unit 4, so if you want to complete it by April 21st, you can. If you're just ahead of schedule, you can absolutely do that. That's not a problem. It's entirely up to you and your schedule. I'm just letting you know that the absolute last day and time for you to complete it is May 6th at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay. My goal for you in this class is not necessarily to become a history major, although if you want to, let me know. But there are a couple of things that I want you to gain. One, an appreciation for history. You may not want to be the history major that I'd like for you to be, but at least I want you to understand and appreciate why history matters. And two, I want you to be able to gain the skill set to ask the how questions and the why questions, and be able to explain how and why to the people around you, so that you can do that in your future careers. Okay? So with all of that said, let's get started. History awaits.